Rugged, torque-packed, and ever so reliable, those are the most common attributes of a diesel engine, whether they're being used to power trucks, SUVs, or other off-road machines. Here's the thing many people don't know, however. Despite the durable designs of diesel engines, there are some seemingly inconsequential practices that can significantly cut down their lifespan. So stay with us in this video as we reveal the 5 most common mistakes that ruin diesel engines quickly. Before we get into these mistakes, you should probably get a pen to highlight some tips down. Trust us, you'll be glad you did. Using the wrong type of engine oil. Getting into it then, we'll be starting with the most common damaging mistake, which is using the wrong type of engine oil. We agree, using the wrong engine oil in a diesel engine vehicle, or any engine for that matter, might seem like an amateur mistake, one that no conscious owner of a vehicle should make. Yet, it happens all the time to a whole lot of people. Whether it's due to bad advice, lack of awareness, or just trying to save a few bucks, people end up pouring the wrong oil into their diesel machines, and the consequences are brutal. And just before you go, oh, every machine lubricating oil does the same job, think again. Diesel engines are not your average gasoline-powered grocery getters. They run at higher temperatures, higher pressures, and deal with more soot and combustion byproducts than a gas engine ever will. That means they need oil that's specifically engineered to handle the abuse. Now, if you're one of those people who, either out of convenience or sheer oversight, have grabbed a bottle of gasoline engine oil off the shelf and dumped it into your diesel engine, here's why that's a big mistake. Gasoline engine oil is simply not designed to handle the extreme pressures inside a diesel motor. It's too thin, lacks the necessary additives, and won't offer enough protection. Over time, the metal-on-metal contact inside your engine increases, leading to premature wear, overheating, and worst-case scenario, catastrophic engine failure. Before you know it, engine internals start to feel like rubbing sandpaper together. And just when you think that's all the mistakes regarding using the wrong oil, in today's maintenance world, there's another trap waiting for you in the form of cheap, low-quality diesel oil. Does it have diesel printed on the container? Of course it does, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right oil for the job. Cheap oils often lack the high-quality additives needed to combat soot buildup and heat. Over time, deposits start forming inside your engine, your turbo clogs up, and suddenly, your once powerful diesel feels sluggish, rough, and desperate for help. And while we're on the topic of oil for diesel engine maintenance, you should remember to never skip oil changes. It's all right to use the right quality of maintenance oil products, but you also need to back that up by sticking to the recommended maintenance periods if you're going to get the best out of your engine. So, do yourself a favor. Stick to manufacturer-approved diesel engine oil, change it on schedule, and don't cheap out. Your diesel will thank you with years of reliable performance instead of a sudden trip to the scrapyard. Ignoring the fuel filter. With that said, let's move on to the next costly mistake that people make with diesel engines: not using the fuel filter. All right, let's talk about that little, often forgotten component lying between your diesel engine and complete disaster: the fuel filter. Because it's small and tucked away, you hardly remember it until your truck starts sputtering, at which point you already have a serious problem on your hands. The truth is, ignoring your fuel filter is like refusing to clean any other machine or work tool. At first, things seem fine, but over time, the buildup turns into a disgusting mess that ruins everything. Now, diesel fuel isn't as refined as gasoline. It's thicker, less processed, and sometimes carries more impurities, dirt, and even water. That's why every diesel engine has a fuel filter. Its job is to trap all the nasty stuff before it reaches your injectors. So when you neglect your fuel filter, things head south, and they keep going that way. Once the filter is clogged, your engine has to work twice as hard to pull fuel through. As a result, your fuel pump struggles to draw diesel through a dirty filter, leading to power loss, sluggish acceleration, and rough idling. But it doesn't stop there. If this persists, your engine might just give up entirely, and in case you could guess, replacing fuel injectors is not cheap. You're looking at a repair bill that could easily hit 4 figures, depending on the vehicle. So what's the fix? Easy. Change your fuel filter regularly. Most manufacturers recommend swapping it out every 15 to 25,000 kilometers, but if you drive in dusty or humid conditions, do it sooner. If your diesel has 2 filters, a primary and a secondary, change both. And whatever you do, don't cheap out. Clean fuel is the secret to a happy, long-lasting diesel engine. Cold revs. Moving on quickly, we have a mistake that's not only common, but is also one of the fastest ways to damage your diesel engine: revving your engine while it's cold. There's always that one person who jumps into his truck on a freezing morning, fires it up, and immediately floors the throttle like he's about to compete in a race. Don't be that guy. And if you are, it's time to change. We agree, just as every car owner would, that it sounds pretty cool to hear your engine roar first thing in the morning, but the aural satisfaction isn't worth the trouble it brings. You see, unlike gasoline engines, diesel engines operate under much higher compression and rely on thick engine oil to lubricate vital components. When that oil is cold, it moves very slowly. That means your turbo, bearings, and cylinder walls are not getting the lubrication they need immediately. Revving a cold diesel is like forcing an athlete to sprint without stretching, except in this case, the pulled muscle is a blown turbo or worn out bearings. Speaking of turbo, you've probably got one if you drive a diesel engine, and it's one of the most delicate parts of your engine. When cold, oil doesn't circulate quickly enough to protect the turbo's high-speed moving parts. Revving the engine forces the turbo to spin at high RPMs without proper lubrication, causing early wear and eventually failure. And like every other part of a diesel engine, replacing a turbo isn't cheap. Now, what about those freezing winter mornings when your truck sounds like it's half asleep? You might be tempted to get things moving quickly, but patience is key. Diesel engines have glow plugs or intake heaters that need a few moments to warm up before firing properly. Skipping this step can lead to rough starts, increased wear, and unburned fuel washing down the cylinder walls, which can reduce lubrication and increase internal friction. If you're living in a seriously cold climate, you'll need to take extra precautions. Block heaters, oil pan heating pads, and even fuel tank warmers can make a huge difference in reducing wear during cold starts. Some diesel owners even use auxiliary heaters to keep the coolant warm overnight, which helps the engine reach operating temperature faster. And here's another pro tip. Watch your coolant and oil temperature gauges before driving off. If they're still stuck in the cold zone, your engine isn't ready. Let it warm up naturally. Let the oil flow properly and then start driving. Your engine and your wallet will thank you later. Low quality fueling. Getting to the end of our list, let's check out a mistake that's as important as any other: running on low quality diesel. This is a pretty easy one to explain, so we'll get to it. You might love hamburgers and fries and fizzy drinks, but you know not to fill your body with junk food every single day to stay healthy, right? Well, the same thing applies to diesel engines. Cheap, low-quality diesel is the equivalent of junk food. It's food for the engine, just like junks count as food. And it might keep things running for a while, but behind the scenes, it's slowly wrecking everything. It might be difficult to distinguish high-quality diesel from low-quality, but the simple hack most times is this: the cheaper it's sold, the more you should avoid it. The cheaper stuff often contains higher levels of sulfur, excess water, and contaminants that should never, under any circumstances, find their way into your engine. These impurities don't just make your fuel system work harder, they actively destroy critical components. Yeah, older diesel engines used to thrive on the high sulfur stuff, but modern engines, not so much. Most newer diesel vehicles are designed for ultra-low sulfur diesel, or ULSD, which significantly reduces emissions and prevents soot buildup. So low-quality, high-sulfur diesel clogs up the exhaust system, suffocating the diesel particulate filter and forcing the engine to work overtime. Before long, you're looking at expensive repairs, poor fuel economy, and a vehicle that feels sluggish and tired. Then there's the water contaminant problem. Any diesel is naturally prone to absorbing moisture from the air, but good fuel suppliers filter out most of this water, which cheaper diesel sellers don't care enough to do. When water gets into your engine, it can corrode fuel injectors, cause microbial growth in your fuel tank, and lead to fuel pump failure, and one day, your engine might just refuse to be ignited. How about biodiesel blends? Well, biodiesel's great when used correctly, but some engines just weren't built for it. Certain biodiesel blends contain higher viscosity levels and fatty deposits that can clog injectors, leading to rough idling and poor performance. So instead of hopping on anything tagged eco-friendly, first find out if your engine is designed to be compatible with such. On a general note, treat your engine to high-quality diesel fuel from reputable stations. If you can, opt for ULSD to keep your emission systems from getting clogged. And if you store diesel for extended periods, use a fuel stabilizer to keep it fresh. Improper cooling. Remember when we mentioned the importance of preventing your engine from warming up? Well, the opposite. Not letting your engine cool down properly can be just as bad. Consider the turbos, which are super important in any functional diesel engine. If your diesel comes with a turbocharger, you're dealing with a piece of engineering that works very hard. This little device forces extra air into your engine, increasing power and efficiency. There's a catch. It works under extreme heat and pressure. If you don't treat it right, it'll throw a tantrum, only that you'll be the one crying and screaming. After a long highway drive, for example, or some heavy towing, when you pull into your driveway, your turbo continues spinning at insane speeds at extremely high temperatures. We're talking over 500 degrees Celsius sometimes. If you turn off the engine immediately, the oil that's been keeping the turbo bearings lubricated stops flowing, and all that heat is now trapped inside the turbo. This is where things go south. The oil inside the turbo literally starts to cook, turning into a thick, carbonized sludge that blocks the bearings and oil passages. This is known as oil coking, and it's one of the fastest ways to send your turbo to an early grave. Once that sludge builds up, the turbo's moving parts don't get proper lubrication, causing excessive wear, overheating, and ultimately total turbo failure. To avoid this, simply let your car idle for 30 to 60 seconds before shutting it off every time you pull up your car. This little move allows the turbo to gradually cool down while fresh oil is still circulating. If you've been pushing your engine hard, like after towing, racing, or climbing steep hills, give it a full 2 or 3 minutes of idle time. And if you're always in a hurry, consider installing a turbo timer. This handy little device keeps your engine running for a set time after you remove the key, ensuring your turbo gets the cool down it needs. It's a small investment that can save you thousands down the line. That's all for this video. Which of these mistakes do you relate to the most? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.